The desperate signal. Commander Sarah Chen stood in the observation deck of the exploration vessel Endeavour, watching stars streak past as they traveled through hyperspace. The ship hummed with quiet efficiency, carrying a crew of 68 humans on a standard deep space survey mission. Their job was simple: map unknown sectors, catalog any interesting phenomena, and return home with data that would expand humanity's understanding of the galaxy. Sarah had been commanding deep space missions for 12 years, but she still felt a thrill every time they dropped out of hyperspace in an unexplored system. Today would be different, though she didn't know it yet. The ship's communications officer, Lieutenant Jake Morrison, suddenly straightened at his station. His brow furrowed as he adjusted his headset and fine-tuned the equipment. "Commander, I'm picking up something unusual. It's faint, but it looks like a distress signal." Sarah moved to Morrison's station and studied the readings on his screen. The signal pattern was unlike anything in their databases. "How old is it?" Morrison ran the signal through the analysis computer. "Based on the degradation pattern, I'd estimate it's been broadcasting for at least 50 years, maybe longer. The frequency is completely foreign to our communication protocols." Dr. Elena Vasquez, the ship's xenobiologist, approached from her nearby station. She was a small woman with intense eyes who had dedicated her career to studying the possibility of alien life. "Commander, if this is what I think it is, we could be looking at our first direct evidence of intelligent alien life." Sarah felt her pulse quicken. Humanity had been exploring space for over a century, always hoping to find proof they weren't alone in the universe. They had discovered microorganisms and basic plant life on several worlds, but never anything that could build technology or send distress signals. "Can you determine the source location?" Sarah asked Morrison. The young officer worked quickly at his console. "Signal originates from approximately 2 light days ahead of our current position. It's coming from what appears to be a large artificial structure." Sarah made her decision quickly. "Change course to investigate. All departments prepare for possible first contact scenario. This is not a drill." The Endeavour altered its trajectory, and within 18 hours they had arrived at the source of the mysterious signal. What they found took everyone's breath away. Floating in the emptiness of space was a massive structure unlike anything humans had ever built. It appeared to be a space station, but its design was completely alien. The central section was roughly spherical, about 2 kilometers in diameter, with 6 long arms extending outward like the spokes of a wheel. The entire structure was dark, with only a few scattered lights visible along its surface. "My God," whispered Dr. Vasquez. "It's enormous." Chief Engineer Tom Bradley studied the sensor readings. The structure appears to be largely inactive. Most systems are offline, running on minimal emergency power. Whatever happened here, it happened a long time ago. Sarah ordered the ship to maintain a safe distance while they gathered more information. The scanner readings revealed the structure was made of materials unknown to human science, and it was clearly designed for beings with different physical requirements than humans. "Commander," Morrison called out, his voice tense with excitement. "I've managed to decode part of the distress signal. It's repeating a message in what appears to be mathematical concepts. The translation is rough, but it seems to be saying something like, 'Medical emergency, thousands dying, please help.'" Dr. Marcus Webb, the chief medical officer, joined the group on the bridge. He was a tall, gray-haired man who had treated everything from space sickness to radiation poisoning. But the thought of alien patients both excited and terrified him. "Commander, if there are still survivors over there, they've been waiting for help for decades. Their medical situation must be desperate." Sarah studied the readings from the alien station. Every protocol in the book said they should document the discovery and return to Earth to report their findings. A full diplomatic and scientific team should handle first contact, not a simple exploration crew. But if there were really dying beings aboard that station, following protocol might mean letting them die while waiting for proper authorities to arrive. "Tom, is it safe to send a boarding party over there?" she asked her chief engineer. Bradley consulted his readings. The structure appears stable, but atmospheric readings show most sections are in vacuum. Whatever happened, it caused catastrophic decompression in large areas of the station. However, I'm detecting some sections that still maintain atmosphere and life support. Sarah made her decision. Prepare a rescue team. Dr. Webb, Dr. Vasquez, Chief Bradley, and Security Chief Rodriguez. Full environmental suits and emergency medical supplies. We're going to see if anyone is still alive over there. Admiral Torres, Sarah's superior back at Earth Command, would have her court-martialed for this decision. But Sarah had joined the Space Service to explore and help others, not to file reports about people she could have saved. The boarding party took a shuttle to the alien station, carefully approaching one of the docking areas that still showed signs of atmospheric integrity. The airlock systems were completely foreign, but Tom Bradley's engineering expertise allowed them to create a safe seal between their shuttle and the station. The interior of the station was like stepping into another world. The corridors were wider than human designs, with curved walls that seemed to flow rather than meet at sharp angles. Bioluminescent panels provided dim lighting, and the air had a strange, sweet smell that their environmental suits filtered out. The gravity is about 80% of Earth normal, Dr. Webb observed as they moved through the station. These beings are probably taller and more slender than humans. They followed the strongest life signs deeper into the station, eventually reaching what appeared to be a medical facility. The room was enormous, filled with hundreds of cylindrical pods arranged in neat rows. Most of the pods were dark and empty, but dozens still glowed with soft blue light. Dr. Vasquez approached one of the active pods and wiped away the condensation from its transparent surface. Inside was a being unlike anything they had ever imagined. It was humanoid but distinctly alien, with pale blue skin, elongated limbs, and a face that was both beautiful and strange. Its eyes were closed, and it appeared to be in some kind of medical stasis. There are at least 40 pods still active, Security Chief Rodriguez reported. But the power levels are critical. These systems are failing. Dr. Webb connected his medical scanner to one of the pods, trying to understand the alien physiology. Heart rate is extremely slow, but steady. Brain activity suggests they're in deep sleep, probably to conserve energy and slow down whatever medical condition they're suffering from. Sarah contacted the Endeavor. This is Commander Chen. We've found survivors, possibly dozens of them. They're in some kind of medical stasis, but their systems are failing. We need to attempt a rescue. The voice of her first officer, Commander Davis, crackled through the comm. Sarah, the risk is enormous. We don't know anything about their physiology or what kind of medical condition they have. We could be exposing ourselves to unknown diseases. Sarah looked around at the failing pods, each containing a living being who had been waiting for help for decades. We can't just leave them to die, Davis. Begin preparations to bring them aboard. Set up quarantine areas in Cargo Bay 3. Over the next several hours, the crew of the Endeavor worked to carefully transfer the alien survivors to their ship. Each pod had to be moved with extreme care, as the stasis systems were delicate and failing. Dr. Webb worked tirelessly to understand the alien medical technology, learning how to maintain the life support systems that were keeping the survivors alive. During the transfer, Dr. Vasquez made a disturbing discovery. The alien station's computer systems, though damaged, still contained some data. With Tom Bradley's help, she was able to access records that told a tragic story. The beings were called the Kalari, and they had been part of a vast galactic community that humans knew nothing about. 53 years ago, a plague had swept through Kalari space, killing billions. The healthy Kalari had evacuated their worlds, leaving behind those who were too sick to travel. This station had been a medical facility, treating thousands of plague victims. But when the evacuation was complete, the galactic community had made a cold decision. Rather than waste resources on a potentially incurable disease, they had abandoned the medical station and its patients. The distress signal had been broadcasting for over 50 years, and dozens of ships from various species had detected it. All of them had chosen to ignore it, following standard galactic protocol that said rescues were only worthwhile if they benefited the rescuer. "This is monstrous," Dr. Vasquez said, her voice shaking with anger as she shared the data with Sarah. "They just left them here to die. An entire galactic civilization, and not one species was willing to help." Sarah felt a deep sadness and anger at the callousness of these unknown alien civilizations. But she also felt a fierce pride in humanity. When faced with the same choice, humans had chosen compassion over protocol, risk over safety. As the Endeavour set course for the nearest human colony, Sarah stood in the medical bay watching the Kilari sleeping in their new medical pods. They had no idea yet that after 50 years of abandonment, someone had finally answered their call for help. "Commander," Dr. Webb approached her with a data pad. "I've been analyzing their condition. The plague they suffered from is unlike anything we've seen, but it's not immediately fatal. With proper treatment, I believe most of them will make a full recovery." Sarah nodded, then asked the question that had been bothering her. "Marcus, what if our roles were reversed? What if humans were the ones abandoned and dying?" Dr. Webb was quiet for a moment. "I'd like to think someone would have helped us too. But based on what we've learned about this galactic community, I'm not sure they would have." Sarah looked at the sleeping Kilari and made a silent promise. Humanity would be different. When they finally made contact with this galactic community, they would show them a better way. Against all odds. 6 months had passed since the rescue of the Kilari survivors, and the human colony world of New Geneva had become their temporary home. The planet's medical facilities had been expanded to accommodate the recovering aliens, and a team of the galaxy's best human doctors worked alongside Kilari medical personnel who had awakened from stasis. Commander Sarah Chen walked through the medical complex, observing the remarkable progress that had been made. The Kilari were indeed taller and more slender than humans, with pale blue skin that seemed to shimmer in certain light. Their large, expressive eyes and graceful movements gave them an almost ethereal appearance. But what impressed Sarah most was their intelligence and gratitude. Dr. Marcus Webb met her at the entrance to the main treatment ward. His hair had gotten grayer in the past 6 months, but his eyes sparkled with the excitement of groundbreaking medical discoveries. "Sarah, you need to see what we've accomplished. The collaboration between human and Kilari medicine has produced results neither species could have achieved alone." In the treatment ward, Sarah observed something extraordinary. Humans and Kilari worked side by side, sharing knowledge and techniques that were revolutionizing both species' understanding of medicine. The language barrier had been overcome with sophisticated translation devices, and the two species had developed a remarkable working relationship. "Commander Chen," a melodic voice called out. Sarah turned to see Vex-9, one of the first Kilari to recover from the plague. Vex-9 was a medical engineer, someone who designed the technology that supported Kilari medicine. They had become one of the primary liaisons between the two species. "Vex-9, how are you feeling today?" Sarah asked. She had grown fond of the Kilari, whose formal speech patterns and earnest curiosity reminded her of enthusiastic graduate students. "I am experiencing optimal health levels, thanks to the remarkable care provided by your medical team," Vex-9 replied. Their skin shifted to a warmer blue tone, which Sarah had learned indicated happiness or contentment. "I wish to share important developments in our collaborative research." Vex-9 led Sarah to a laboratory where human and Kilari scientists worked together on complex medical equipment. Dr. Elena Vasquez was there, studying genetic sequences alongside a Kilari researcher named Keth-7. "Sarah, this is incredible," Dr. Vasquez said, looking up from her work. "The Kilari approach to medicine is completely different from ours, but when we combine our methods, we're making breakthroughs neither species thought possible." Keth-7, an elderly Kilari with silver-tinted skin, spoke through the translation device. "Human medicine focuses on fighting disease, while Kilari medicine focuses on supporting the body's natural healing processes. Together, we create treatments that are both aggressive and gentle. The applications go far beyond treating the plague, Dr. Webb added. We're developing treatments for diseases that have plagued both species for centuries. Cancer, genetic disorders, neurodegenerative conditions. The collaborative approach is revolutionizing everything. Sarah felt a deep sense of pride in what they had accomplished, but she also knew their peaceful research time was about to end. Reports from human space indicated that strange new diseases were appearing on several colony worlds. The plague that had nearly destroyed the Kilari was somehow spreading, and it was adapting to affect human physiology. As if reading her thoughts, Admiral Torres materialized as a hologram in the laboratory. His expression was grim. "Commander Chen, we have a situation. The plague has reached human space. 3 colony worlds are reporting outbreaks, and early cases are appearing on Earth itself." As if reading her thoughts, Admiral Torres materialized as a hologram in the laboratory. His expression was grim. "Commander Chen, we have a situation. The plague has reached human space. 3 colony worlds are reporting outbreaks, and early cases are appearing on Earth itself." The room fell silent. The Kilari present understood the translation, and their skin tones shifted to darker blues and purples, indicating distress and fear. "Admiral, what are the infection rates?" Dr. Webb asked. "Exponential growth on all affected worlds. The plague seems to have adapted to human biology, and it's spreading faster than it did among the Kilari. We need solutions, and we need them now." Elder Zefka, the oldest of the recovered Kilari and their informal leader, stepped forward. Through the translation device, they spoke with the weight of authority and deep sadness. "This is our fault. We brought this plague with us, despite all precautions. The humans saved us, and now we have doomed them." Sarah stepped forward. "Elder Zefka, this isn't about blame. This is about finding solutions. We saved you because it was the right thing to do, and we don't regret that decision." Vex 9's skin brightened with determination. "Commander Chen, the Kilari survivors wish to volunteer for the most dangerous research. We have natural immunity to many strains of the plague. We can test treatments that would be too risky for humans." Dr. Webb shook his head. "Absolutely not. You're still recovering from 50 years of medical trauma. We can't ask you to risk your lives again." "Dr. Webb," Elder Zefka said, their voice carrying ancient wisdom, "you humans have a saying, 'No good deed goes unpunished.' You saved us when no one else would. Now this plague threatens your species because of your compassion. We cannot stand by and watch our rescuers suffer." Keth 7 stepped forward. "In Kilari culture, we have a concept called Vex Thilan. It means repaying life with life. You gave us our lives back. Now we give our lives to save yours." Over the following weeks, the medical complex on New Geneva became the center of the most intensive research effort in human history. Kilari volunteers worked alongside human researchers, testing experimental treatments and submitting themselves to procedures that carried significant risks. The breakthrough came when Vex 9 proposed a radical approach. Rather than trying to kill the plague organism, they suggested modifying it to become beneficial. The plague was remarkably adaptable, but that same adaptability could be turned into an advantage. "The plague organism wants to survive and spread," Vex 9 explained to the research team. "Instead of fighting this tendency, we redirect it. We modify the organism to carry beneficial genetic modifications instead of harmful ones." The concept was revolutionary. Rather than creating a cure that destroyed the plague, they would create a modified version that would actually improve the immune systems of infected individuals. The modified plague would spread just as quickly as the original, but it would make people healthier instead of sicker. The research was dangerous. Several Kilari volunteers became seriously ill testing early versions of the modified organism. 2 human researchers contracted experimental strains that nearly killed them, but gradually, working together, they refined the approach. Dr. Vasquez made the final breakthrough. She discovered that human and Kilari immune systems had complementary strengths. By combining genetic information from both species, they could create a modified plague organism that would be beneficial to any known form of humanoid life. The field testing was conducted on New Geneva, with volunteers from both species. Sarah was among the first to receive the modified organism, despite protests from her medical team. As the commanding officer, she felt it was her responsibility to share the risks with her people. The results exceeded all expectations. Not only did the modified plague provide immunity to the original disease, but it enhanced the immune systems of infected individuals, making them resistant to dozens of other diseases as well. Production and distribution of the modified plague began immediately. Unlike traditional medicines that had to be manufactured and distributed, this treatment spread naturally through populations. Within months, the plague that had threatened to destroy humanity became the foundation for the greatest medical advancement in human history. The success of the collaboration between humans and Kilari had an unexpected consequence. Other alien species, who had been monitoring human activities from a distance, began reaching out to establish contact. They had heard stories of the species that had rescued abandoned plague victims and turned a deadly disease into a cure. The Vorthek, a warrior species known for their combat prowess, sent ambassadors requesting human assistance with a genetic condition that affected their reproduction. The crystalline Zethmar, who communicated through harmonic frequencies, sought human help with a mineral plague that was destroying their homeworlds. Most surprising was the contact from the Kilari government in exile. The same leaders who had abandoned their plague victims 50 years earlier now requested an audience with human leadership. They had learned that the abandoned patients had not only survived, but had become part of a revolutionary medical breakthrough. The meeting took place on New Geneva, with Elder Zefke serving as the primary Kilari representative. Sarah was present as the human representative, along with Admiral Torres and other high-ranking officials. The Kilari government delegation was led by Prime Minister Wex Prime, a being whose pale skin and nervous movements betrayed their discomfort with the situation. They had come expecting to deal with a primitive species that had stumbled onto valuable Kilari refugees. "We are prepared to offer significant technological exchanges for the return of our people," Wex Prime announced through their translation device. Elder Zefka's skin darkened with anger. "We are not your people anymore. You abandoned us to die. These humans saved us when you would not." Sarah stepped forward. "Prime Minister, the Kilari survivors are free to make their own choices about where they want to live and who they want to associate with. But I think you misunderstand the situation here." She gestured to the medical complex where humans and Kilari continued to work together. "We didn't save your people to exploit them or to gain access to your technology. We saved them because it was the right thing to do. The medical breakthroughs we've achieved are the result of willing collaboration between equals." Wex Prime's expression shifted to confusion. "But surely you expect compensation for your efforts. What do you want in return?" "We want to establish formal diplomatic relations with all species in the galactic community," Admiral Torres replied. "We want to share our medical breakthroughs freely with any species that needs them. And we want to establish a new protocol for rescue operations, so that no one is ever again abandoned to die in space." The concept seemed to be beyond Wex Prime's understanding. In their experience, no species acted without expecting direct benefits in return. Vex 9 approached the group, their skin bright with determination. "Prime Minister, I speak for most of the survivors when I say we choose to remain with the humans. They have shown us a better way of living, one based on cooperation rather than exploitation." Over the following months, New Geneva became the unofficial capital of a new kind of galactic community. Species that had never cooperated before began working together on projects that benefited everyone. The human approach to problem solving, emphasizing collaboration and mutual aid, began to spread throughout the galaxy. The modified plague treatment was distributed freely to all species that requested it, with no strings attached. Human medical teams traveled to dozens of worlds, teaching the collaborative techniques that had made the breakthrough possible. Sarah, now promoted to admiral, stood on the observation deck of the newly constructed diplomatic station orbiting New Geneva. Through the windows, she could see ships from dozens of different species docked at the station. Humans, Kilari, Vorthak, Zethmar, and many others worked together on projects that would have been impossible for any single species to accomplish. Admiral Chen, Vex 9 approached, their skin showing the warm blue of contentment and friendship. I wanted to thank you again for what you did. Not just saving us from the medical station, but showing us a better way to live. Sarah smiled. Vex 9, you don't need to thank us. What we've built here, we've built together. That's what makes it strong. She looked out at the busy spaceport where beings from across the galaxy worked side by side. You know, when we first detected your distress signal, we had a choice. We could have followed protocol and reported it to our superiors, or we could have acted on our conscience and tried to help. I am grateful you chose to help, Vex 9 replied. Sarah nodded. So are we. In trying to save you, we ended up saving ourselves. We learned that the universe is a better place when we choose cooperation over competition, compassion over protocol. As she watched the diverse species working together, Sarah realized that humanity's greatest contribution to the galaxy wasn't their technology or their fighting ability. It was their willingness to help others, even when there was no obvious benefit to themselves.